Welcome to Backstage with Geoffrey Morrissey. I am your host, Geoffrey Morrissey. I am joined today by Mark from Kodaline. Mark, we're in New York City. This is the first time I've had an artist on in New York, so thank you for making the time.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, and so we were just talking a little bit about this. You guys get to go home in 4 days. I was actually just in Dublin for the U.S. Thanksgiving holiday.
Were you?
Yes.
And was it celebrated?
It wasn't really.
No, we don't do that at all.
You don't, but the coolest thing was all the bars were decorated for Christmas, which was something that I've never seen before, and it made me want to go into every bar. So that was very nice.
Where did you go?
There was this place, I actually think it was called the Wild Duck, in around Temple Bar, and there was this family band that was playing, and they just weren't doing typical family band songs. They were doing like Seven Nation Army and things of that ilk, which I've never quite seen, but it was certainly a cool thing.
That's fun. It is a lot of music in Temple Bar. It's good. It's a good spot.
Would you recommend anything to particularly do in Dublin for the next time that I go?
Oh, Jesus, yeah. It kind of depends what you're after. I mean, like, Temple Bar is a very good place. It's a very tourist kind of spot. There's there's live music in nearly every single pub, and there's people from all over the world. But if you want to kind of go off the beaten track and find like a true Irish pub, you just have to leave Temple Bar and look for a place that looks like you would not want to go into it.
Yeah.
And chances are that's the place that you want to go.
Yeah, exactly.
If you walk into a bar and there's an L lad sitting there at the bar with a cap on reading the newspaper, that's kind of where you want to get your Guinness from. So you sit down, you order a Guinness, and just don't really make any plans. Just kind of saunter around from place to place. That's the best thing about Dublin is it's so concentrated. Like, everything is within walking distance. So you just kind of have to just wander and just like accidentally find places yourself. That's kind of what I say to people.
Yeah,
well, you will find something good. There's no one place that's like, oh, you have to go here. You know, there's just things happening everywhere.
That's totally true. And one of the things that, I don't know, I always find that there's a big culture shock when I get back to the U.S., which I can only imagine you feel too. What are some of the ways that manifest that when you come over here for tour, you're like, oh, we're not in Kansas anymore? Or we are in Kansas, I guess.
I kind of liked being in Kansas. But America's mental. I absolutely love it. We haven't toured, and I'm not just saying that because you're from here. We haven't toured here since 2015, and we've toured everywhere else kind of. So we just did a European tour. Touring Europe is amazing. I mean, you get to go to Barcelona one day, and the next day you're in Paris, and it's awesome. But that's more of a culture shock, touring Europe, because you're changing, not necessarily currency, but you're changing like accent, language, culture, the weather. Like every day you're in a different country almost, and sometimes it can be pretty disillusioning. Whereas when you're in America, you're in America for like a month, and like, it's so funny. The things that I've grown to love about America are the things that I didn't like initially. Like, one of my favorite things to do now, and people kind of look at me strange, is like just go to a sports bar where there's like sports on every single screen, and just get chicken wings and just drink beer.
Really?
And I know that's the most boring, that's probably the most standard thing for Americans to do, but that is how I identify that. Like, okay, I'm in an American bar. It's just televisions everywhere. It's kind of, I don't know, everything's so bright. It's different to back home where if there was a match on, there'd be one TV. So that's kind of what I do when I come to America. And I've done that a lot.
Well, there you go. That's a nice thing to do at the very least. And then so this new album, or newish album, I should say, is amazing. Politics of Living. Y'all worked with so many different producers on this.
We did, yeah.
What was the group sort of looking for in a producer? What was a quality that you really liked and sort of connects all these different people that you worked with?
Well, initially we were just trying to find someone. We didn't know what we were looking for. So it was kind of like internet speed dating, but you spend the whole day with someone in the studio and you have to pour your heart out. So like, it was a difficult process, to be honest with you, because we found that we're quite a strange band in that it has to be a certain kind of song for us to love it. And when we're thrown into a room with different writers, then they might throw a lyric at you where you're kind of like, oh, I'm really not sure about that, or a certain sound. But it was just kind of fascinating to see how other people work, and you're kind of led into someone else's imagination for the day, and you can see the weirdness in them and the coolness in them. So I just liked the experience of meeting new people, and like, there was a lot of it was, like I said, was difficult, because you can find out within like minutes or seconds even if you're going to click with someone or not. But you're working with the people who are the best. The one thing we learned is that you can go into a room with someone who's written the best songs for this person, and you can come out with we can come out with nothing. Do you know what I mean? Just because the names are attached to someone, it really doesn't mean anything. The most important thing is what happens on the day with whoever. So I'm not sure if we'll do that again. It was pretty strange. I think the next album will probably hone it down to a lot less people, or maybe just do it ourselves. We're not really sure. We're still, but we love the process. We got to travel the world. We worked in like Nice down in France. We did stuff in LA, stuff in the UK, in the countryside, and then in Ireland. So yeah, we got to travel a lot and meet new people, which essentially is what we do when we're touring. So it was nice. But I think the next time we do it, we'll tone it down a bit.
Yeah.
Not whore ourselves out so much.
No, not so much.
Probably can't say that, sorry.
Yeah, it's WATD. You're totally good. And then that was one of what you just said, sort of, you could tell within seconds or minutes if something's going to click or not.
It's like a first date with someone.
It's like a first date.
It's
but
the
at least
exact same. Is the sex going to be good? Is the song going to be good? It's kind of the exact same. What's the outcome going to be?
Well, it's kind of the exact same, except like, I mean, dinner is 90 minutes, but if you've signed up to spend the day with someone, and sort of work with them, and it's clear 30 minutes into what could be an 12-hour day that something's not jiving, that has to be awkward.
It's a big challenge, because you're trying to, like, okay, well, this doesn't work, I don't like that, I don't like this, which what that basically means is, like, I am out of my comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, is one of the most important things that anyone can do when you're stepping into a new territory or trying something new, is that, like, right, I'm uncomfortable for a reason. Why am I uncomfortable? How do I make myself comfortable? You kind of force yourself to write a song about whatever, and sometimes you can be pleasantly surprised. Like, the beautiful thing about music is that, like, the best stuff happens on instinct or by accident. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when you're not really thinking, that's kind of when the best stuff comes, in my opinion. So you could spend 8 hours with someone who you don't necessarily like, or it's not working. I'm probably coming across quite negative. A lot of it was great.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah, no,
but
you're good.
you can spend 8 hours writing a song with somebody, and then nothing can happen, and then you've got 10 minutes left on the clock before either he has to go or whatever. You got a flight. You can write an amazing song in like 5 minutes, and I can just be like, oh. So it's just, I don't know, making music is such a strange process. It's you can't put a formula to it, and you can't say, well, he wrote this song with that person, so I'm going to work with him and do the same, because you just have your own energy. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. And one of the things that I'm really fascinated with this band specifically are sort of what goals y'all have when you think about albums and moving forward. Because if you think about pretty much every check the box you could do, we want to play Glastonbury, we play Glastonbury. We want our song to be featured in music, movies, you name it. We want this song to have a real impact on people. Like, if you sort of go down, y'all have checked off a lot of the boxes that are sort of like, this would be our definition of success. So how do you keep moving that goalpost to stay motivated?
I suppose the best way to stay motivated is not to look back on all that stuff. Like, that stuff is amazing, and it's very, very rare that we sit down as a band and reflect and say, oh, remember that thing we did 2 years ago? That was amazing. It's so funny, like, we always put on these huge shows in Dublin every year, like a homecoming show, and it's always the biggest thing, such a build up to it, and like it's that giant box that we tick, but as soon as it's over, you're like, right, what's the next box you want to tick? Because I think if you spend too much time reflecting, you're kind of just you're gonna settle into an ego, I think. Whereas if you're constantly forward and you're constantly learning and you're constantly trying new things and you're constantly failing, it kind of like, and then like, sorry, not fail. Yeah, you get some things wrong, get some things right. That's the kind of hunger that keeps us going. Is that, like, we don't know what boxes we want to tick next, really. Like, a lot of the boxes that we ticked, we didn't sit down as a band and say, let's do this. Like, to be honest, we had quite a humble start. There was a venue in Dublin called the Olympia, which is probably, are you from Boston? It's probably like the Paradise Rock Club or the or the House of Blues. It's like, if you're a band and you're growing up, you're like, that's where I want to play. And that was where we wanted to play. And then as soon as we played that, we were like, oh shit, well that's over. Like, fuck, sorry, my language is really bad today. They're like, oh, let's try to do the arena. I don't know. So it's always, you're never fully happy with what you've done. I think that's the healthy mentality to have. It's just not to get comfortable. Like, we'd love to, well, Madison Square Garden. I mean, you know, we don't want to be like comfortable playing venues this size. We want to go bigger every time, and we kind of look at ourselves and go, well, look, if we're playing to X amount of people in this country, why aren't we doing the same here? So there's constantly work to be done and constantly kind of goals to achieve, and I think by not reflecting too much, you achieve more.
Yeah. And what is the average venue size that you usually are playing in Dublin or something like that?
In Dublin, it's arenas, so it's like 15,000.
So you really, I mean, 15,000 people in Dublin. Here tonight, it's going to be
one.
That's a complete, 1,200. That's in Paradise, same. That's a completely different show. How do you guys sort of go about sort of code switching between those two things?
I think what we never try and do with our music is try and write music for a specific venue. Like we don't say, let's write arena rock, or let's write a real intimate song that's going to be in this venue. We just make music, and accidentally it works in a big venue or it works in a small venue. Like we are loving this tour. We haven't done a tour of this size in a long time, and it's a graft. We have to constantly keep playing venues like this, but we absolutely love it. So I don't know. We don't. There's not much difference in preparation for a big show or a small show. For us, we're standing in the same place. You know, I've got Steve there, drummers behind me, so we're doing the same thing. Yeah. Essentially, but I suppose when you do a bigger show, I don't know. The boring answer is there's probably more conversation about what lights we're going to put in. Yeah. Is there going to be screens? And that's always funny and strange to talk about. But we love the small shows, and we'd be happy if we were just playing these, but we want more. We want bigger rooms. There's more of an energy when there's like thousands of people screaming at you. It's an addictive feeling that we are constantly striving to achieve. Of course. Hope that doesn't sound arrogant, but I think any band that's worth their weight in salt won't be comfortable playing where they're playing. They'll want to go, okay, where do we go next? You know, how do we make these people like us and those people come to a show?
Well, I mean, if you believe in the product, then you want as many people to use the product as possible, or hear the product, or whatever it may be. So, I mean, it makes total sense. One of the songs I did want to talk about on this record, Angel, the story behind that, and I'll let you tell it because you'll obviously have a better knowledge, is incredible. How did y'all go about sort of navigating writing a song about that, sort of walking a very fine line, because it was a little bit of a delicate subject?
It was very, very delicate, and we don't normally write songs that are publicly specific. Do you know what I mean? That people will know, oh, that song's about that, really. But basically, we played the biggest show of our career. It was in a park in Dublin. It was like 40,000 people. It was insane. And a poor girl, Ciara Lawler, she lost her life in the crowd. She had a pre-existing heart condition, and unfortunately, she passed away in the middle of the concert. We didn't know. So we reached out to the family, and we just kind of, like, the song was we didn't say let's write a Kodaline song about this. That wasn't our motive behind it. We were like, we didn't know what to say to the family. It was our concert that their daughter passed away at, or their sister, you know. So we want to be really careful. I'm like, well, the only thing we can actually do is write music, and that's how we communicate with each other sometimes, is we'll put it in a song. So we wrote a song just for the family, and we went down. I drove down with my parents, and I went and I met them, and they were lovely. They were so nice to me, and they brought me into the house, and we had a cup of tea, and I still talk to Ciara's mum, Emer, all the time. So we went down to meet Ciara's family, and we just played them. We had the song Angel on a CD, and I said, look, this is for you guys. We just want you to know that, like, what happened at the show had an enormous effect on us. Like, we came off stage and we were told about it, and like we were on this high, you know. There was like all our friends and family were there, and we were told this news, and like it just hit us really hard. It's just life, you know. You don't know what's going to happen, and we felt a bit. It's just a strange kind of responsibility when you put on something, like it's your party, you invite everybody, and then someone loses their life. So it hit us really, really hard. We didn't know what to do. We were all in tears. We were just totally cut up by it. So we just sent them. Look, when I went down to meet them, I gave them the CD and just said, look, this is for you guys. I want you to listen to it once I'm gone. I didn't want to sit there like while they listened to it. I thought that would be uncomfortable enough. And they heard it, and they were like, are you going to put it on your album? And we were like, well, that was not the intention, but they championed us, and they were like, we want you to put this on the album, and we want you to talk about it. We want you to tell people that this is what it's about. They were like, the more people that know this song in her memory, the better, you know. So yeah, and I mean, we've been playing the song live every night, and it really cuts me up that, you know, she would have been in the crowd, and I don't know, it's a horrible thing. It's not something we ever thought we'd go through as a band. There's no preparation for something like that, and like her family are so nice, and they came to our show. They've come to a few shows, and we hang out with them and have a beer with them, and yeah, it's so tough on them, you know, but.
Well, I am happy it's on the album because it's a beautiful song. Again, that album, Politics of Living. One of the questions that I did want to ask you, if you could steal an album from anyone, and the world only knows it either as your album or as a Kodaline album, what album are you stealing?
Steal in what way now? Steal and just take the songs and say, oh, I wrote these.
Yeah, like you wrote Rumors. Yeah, Rumors is your album. Yeah.
Oh, God. I'd feel dirty doing it. but I mean, you'd have to go for something like, I don't know, like Abbey Road. But I love that the Beatles did Abbey Road. I mean, do you know what song I am so jealous of? And I've been hearing it a lot over here. You know, "Boys of Summer" by Don Henley.
Oh, that's such a beautiful song.
I think everyone loves that song so much, but no one will call it their favorite song. But like me and my guitar tech Dan, he's from Canada. Me and him just bro out over that song. And I literally was in a meeting there about half an hour ago, and it came on the radio, and I just zoned out about it. We were talking to our label about stuff, and I just zoned out, and I was just singing that song in my head. That's probably, like, I know you could pick like "Imagine" by John Lennon or something like that, but that song makes me feel so good. It makes me, I don't know, my imagination just starts running wild when I hear that song, and it's so it's probably just I don't know if I could steal an album from someone, but I could definitely steal that song.
Yeah, well,
Yoink. I'll take that.
There you go. Anything that Eagles, Don Henley do, it's just sort of like, it's summer and the windows are down and you're driving somewhere.
It is, and you know, it's very sad what happened to Glenn Fry, but I took my dad to see the Eagles in Dublin about 3 years before that happened, and it was one of the best gigs. They know what to play. They played everything, and then they played "Boys of Summer" as well, and I just lost my shit, man. I went ballistic. I was like, I can't believe they're playing this song. Yeah. Eagles are good. They still get played all the time here. It's amazing.
Yeah.
They're probably still one of the biggest bands in the world, and they just, their work is done.
They're on my list of a band to see live for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I know that you have a show to play. There are people outside already lining up, waiting to see Kodaline. So I'll leave you with this. Who are you listening to right now?
Right now I'm listening to Anderson .Paak.
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening to a band from Dublin called Fontaines.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, it's like punk, but not like pop, like punk, like American pop. It's like punk, like old school punk. And the lead singer's like just poetry. It's amazing. And there's another guy from Ireland called Dermot Kennedy. He has the most fascinating career. He's literally just selling out venues all over the world.
Really?
Yeah, and he's doing really well in America. And who else am I listening to? I think that's kind of it at the moment. Don Henley, "Boys of Summer" every day.
There you go.
What are you listening to, actually?
What am I listening to? Oh, there's this brilliant new EP out by a group that's going by the name Boy Genius. I don't know if you've listened to that. It's Phoebe Bridgers, Lucy Dacus, and Julian Baker.
Okay, I don't know any of those people. I'll definitely check that out.
Okay, that's been on repeat. Plans by Death Cab for Cutie, and I don't know why.
I love Death Cab for Cutie, man. I know a few of their songs, but what I've heard I love.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the time. If you're not listening to Kodaline, stop what you're doing. Do it right now. Mark from that band has joined me today. And Boys of Summer, too. But thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Jeff.